So Joe, and again, I'm going to say up front, thank you for coming and doing this. I've been looking at your material, and we talked at lunch. It's extremely interesting. You know, every day I learn more and more about World War II, and I thought I knew a lot about World War II, but I really don't. There's a lot of things that happened we don't know about, and it's probably true of Korea and Vietnam and everything that's even going on today. So Joe, here you go.
All right, I really, like I said, I want to thank you boys for your service and what you've all done too. We all needed it. I really believe in my heart that the Air Force won the war. They were terrific.
We know they did.
Yeah.
He's trying to make sense.
That gets me out of my Navy thing.
What office are you running for?
No. Okay, this ship here, this is very similar to an LCI that used to take troops. And when they made the invasion in France, the gunners and all that, they needed them for this ship. And that's what we got, was the gunners from the invasion of France. They were very good. What I got to explain to you is that we had one of the finest anti-aircraft records in naval history. No other ship competed with us, and I'll explain why. We were in practice, and the planes would carry a flag or like that, a mask behind them. Every time they came to us, we would blow that right off the ship. We wouldn't hit the plane, we'd blow it and knock it off. So they figured they would get a model airplane and do it. Twice they had two planes come up and we blew them off. We had men on our 20 millimeters that were good. They used like a fire hose. Well, they got model airplanes and they sent two of them up, and when they came to us, we knocked both of them down. So that was it. But it wasn't a very good thing in my estimation, is because when we got on a picket line, which never happened in any war where they had a picket line, but they had to do this because of the suicide planes. And they had to find when they were coming and all that, so the Air Force could take them out. And when we got on picket line, we were like the lead ship. Well, this over here is the second Betty that we shot down. The first one we blew it apart, but what they did is they dropped fragment bombs. They were dropping fragment. They was always hitting the ship behind us, killing 15, 10, 15, 18 men, because we're all above deck, and when shrapnel comes at you, it's very similar to if a person takes a bomb and then they pull the plug and, you know, everybody in the neighborhood goes out with it. It was awful. This ship here could go on a beach. It was built so that you'd throw the anchor out, float in, beach it, stay there, because on too many islands, they would invade the island. There'd probably be 10,000 or 15,000 enemy on the island, and the Marines would land, or the Army. And what would happen was that when the big guns stopped firing, the enemy came up out of the holes and all that, and they were duck soup for the men that were coming in. They had no protection. But they figured this would do it. They were able to get this together with 130 ships were built and manned in less than 5 months. And that's tremendous to do all that. But it was easy. They just left all the LCIs in England all in. They shipped all the gunners from there to take care of it. We had like 3 40 millimeters. Not that big, same page. This is a twin 40, this is a twin 40 and a single 40. Over here is a 20 millimeter and a 20, and the opposite side on the same thing. And then along the side here we would have 50 calibers. They estimated per tonnage, there was no other ship ever built with that much firepower. It was really good. I'm a little up in age, so I'm trying to remember something. Not too many years ago, I decided I was going to write a story about the ship, and I did. And I brought several copies. I think they're over here, but yeah. Whoop. Uh-oh, there goes your hammer. All right. This is called a Mighty Midget ship. All you have to do is just take the staple out and run this through a copy machine. But there's 6 or 7 of them here that you can distribute to somebody. Sir?
How long was the ship?
All right, 159 feet. It's not very big.
Tell them about the bottom.
Bottom is flat. Flat bottom so they can beach. Yeah. It's a very good story this year. I even enjoy myself when I go to the bedroom.
What's LCI stand for?
LCI, landing craft, no, LCI is infantry. This is LCS, landing craft support. Landing craft support.
Landing craft
Support, yeah. Okay. They built, like I said, 130 of them and all that. We were very, very good. We had a captain that was terrific. They took him right out of Annapolis. He was 22 years old. Captain of a ship. He was good though. He's still alive. He's alive. My executive officer's alive. There's 2 other seamen and myself. Yeah.
How many men were on the ship?
72. There was 65 and 7 officers, yeah. 2 of our men went crazy fast. You see what happened that we were under so much pressure that it was very, very hard to keep your sanity. We would go on picket line. All right, I'm probably jumping a little ahead of myself. We first had it, we took off and we went to Hawaii, but on our way to Hawaii, one of our men developed appendix. We couldn't get a plane to pick him up, it was too rough. The destroyers came at us and they said he couldn't operate. The water's too rough. So they told us, get going to Hawaii as fast as you can. We had no protection, we went all the way. We made it and everything, and the guy, and funny, he's one of the seamen that is still alive. Yeah. Yeah. And then what happened was that as we're going, they were going to send for the invasion of Japan about 40 LCTs, landing craft tank. Their speeds are almost 8 knots. I think you could walk almost. It was terrible. We had to stay with them and all that. We had one submarine that came. They let us know. They said that they saw a periscope. So the Japanese people had no idea what this ship was. And this gun over here looked like a 5-inch, the one on the bow. The only trouble is we tried a 5-inch and it buckled the deck, so they couldn't use it. They had to put a 40 millimeter there. But they were very, very good guns, very good. And all right, we finally made we missed Iwo. But then we found out that the LCSs that made the landing at Iwo lost over 200 men. They were killed. So God was with us, I guess. So we made the invasion of Okinawa. At Okinawa, the suicide planes, they were coming at us 10, 20 a day at every direction. And they were hitting. They were hitting the ships. Primaretta, which was an anchorage place and all that, were just full of ships, destroyers and all that there. They always picked on the conning towers. We've seen some very funny sights. They would do tricks, they would do inside loops and all that, and then crash into the ship and all that. While we were on picket line, it was right in April, they sent the biggest battleship in the world on a suicide run. They gave it enough fuel to run from Japan. He came with 2 cruisers, heavy cruisers, and about 12, 15 destroyers. They were spotted when they were about within 100, 150 miles of us. And that's only 3 hours. And they were spotted by a submarine and they were reported. The Navy sent over 400 planes after it, and they sunk it. They had a nuke bomb with a designated fuse on it that would penetrate and then explode. It was something new that they were trying, and it worked. And they hit a soft spot, and they went right into the battleship. The battleship was equipped with, our biggest battleship was 16-inch guns, but this one had 18-inch. Nobody wanted to mess with it during the war. This is not in the book, in a magazine that I have here. This is a story from the reason why the ships are made all the way to when I went home. So it's a very good story. Okay. I want to give credit to my wife here. We've been together now 64 years. Yeah, we'll be say with 64. Yeah, it's a long time.
So you're not going deaf yet then?
No, not yet. No. We hold hands a lot. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll tell you, I am 91 years old. I'll be 92 this year. Yeah, so I'm up there in age with you guys. Yeah. And I've had a good life. We've had a very good life. But we'll go back to Okinawa. All right. We were out there in April when the USS Sagamon 2, I don't know what it was doing out there. It only had one destroyer with it, and it was coming towards us, and we were on like picket line 7. That would be where all the Japanese came from. Formosa was Formosa then. 15 and 7 were the worst 2 picket lines, and because of our anti-aircraft record, we got it every time. Well, anyway, the Sagamon got hit by 2 suicide planes. They sat up there in the top, and then it came down in a terrible plane. And they went in there, but we fought that fire for 4 hours. We were able to get underneath there, we put it out. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they awarded us a Silver Star, which is next to the Congressional Medal of Honor, because it was hazardous. If the gasoline ever caught on fire, which the fire was below deck, but we were able to fight it through the hole in the wall where the Japanese bomb blew a hole right out the side. Yeah. It was just about every time we were on picket line, which we spent 90 some days on picket line. We were the only ship that was attacked by over 1,000 kamikaze airplanes. No other ship was attacked by that many. I don't know if I mentioned it, but 2 of our crew members, it's an awful thing to see, but they went out of their mind. They couldn't stand the pressure. See, you could get scared. Everybody's scared of something, but if you fear it and you keep fearing it, your mind is going to go, and it slips. And when it does slip, there's a lot of screaming and everything else. But then we sometimes thought about it. It says, you know, hey, what happened to Bill and Harry? And, oh yeah, did you hear they're crazy? He said, where are they going? They're going home. Hey, you know, what the heck are we? Yeah, I know, it paid to be crazy. Huh? Yeah. I saw so many men die. Oh Lord. We were next to the New Mexico. When they got hit, we were in port, and sometimes they'd get through because they would send 200 or 300 fighters with them, and they would get them through. Well, they hit the New Mexico, the battleship it is. And that same day there, we were right near it, over 60 men died and all that. And we helped with a lot of it. We had 3 of our own ships behind us get hit with fragment bombs. And 15, 20 and all, and we would go and help because, they're all shipmates and it's an awful sight. You go up fast. I was only 18 years old and I never saw the ocean when I was younger. I had no idea, And I explained one time there, seasickness, a flat bottom boat, forget it, it's like a cork in the bit though. All right, what do you call it there? I said this here, and it really is the way you feel. When you get seasick, you're seasick, and you're there one day, and you think you're going to die. And then the next day, if you're still seasick, you wish you would. It's really something. And
I guess you get used to it, right?
you had to get used to it because, all right, the only thing I did in work when I was 15 and all that, I was a bartender. I know you're not supposed to be a bartender, but I was in Saratoga then. And it was all nightclubs and everything, and I 10 bar at the McGregor Links over there. But anyway, when I went into service, they said, what did you do? I washed dishes in it. Oh, good, you're a cook. I couldn't boil water. So I found out that if you read a book, you can do anything. And I learned to cook, and I learned to do a lot of things. I worked for Henry J. Kaiser, I guess you remember the shipbuilder? I worked for him and all that, and I did everything. I drove tractor trailer, I fixed all the machines, boilers, had a boiler license and all that. All right, back to the war. Let's see. When we first went in to Okinawa, I was with 2 other destroyers, an ARD, which is a landing, what they do is it's a cement ship and they sink it, the ships go in, then they take the water out and they fix it. So they call it, and a couple of tugboats. We went over around Tremeretta was a large island, it was like a horseshoe. Around this upper part of it came 2 airplanes, low, about 10 foot above the water. They were beautiful. They were all painted white. They had yellow noses. They had the spats over the wheels, like the old-time airplanes and all that. Red. They were really beautiful. And we're standing there looking at them. They both them right at the destroyers. The destroyers were at GQ. We weren't. We were supposed to be at general quarters. But anyway, they went and they crashed right into and I couldn't figure out, how can you give up your life like that? Life is the most precious thing you have. And they were doing it all the time. We picked many, many Japanese in the water. They would wear like a coverall. They were like a tannish color. Because when this plane came into this Betty here, it was coming at us and they hit it with the 40 millimeters and put the wing on, the motor on fire. All right, when they got right about where it is right now, they hit him in the other engine. And he cartwheeled right past us. The wing hit the water. If he continued on that spot, he would have cleaned us right off. But the captain went hard to left, hard to port. So it missed us, but we ran into him. Because when he got next to it, then we ran into him. His whole tail section came aboard. We were covered with gasoline. And I mean covered, soaking. Even the skipper up on the top and the county tower and all that was covered because it had loaded gasoline. on a suicide plane, they didn't put that much gasoline, but they had a bomb. Well, anyway, the tail section hit the bosun's mate in front of me. We were on damage control, the two of us. And we were running. But, we spotted it. We started running toward it, then we started running back. But anyway, he got hit by the tail section when I came aboard. The rear gunner, he had a parachute, which we didn't know that they gave him parachutes. Usually a pilot's not given a parachute. He's told, if you get shot down, you ram your plane. Well, anyway, so much water from the wake that came up. Some of the guys in the front of the ship here had water 3 or 4 feet deep. And Joe and I were right here. There was what do you call it? Well, this water came down and was washing the bosun's mate overside, and I grabbed a hold of him. The rear gunner from that ship floated right past me, but I saw it was that. I wasn't going to let Joe go. Anyway, somehow I twisted and the shoulder went out of the socket. They all went and took care of Joe because he was knocked out and all that there. There was an Oklahoma boy that was a chief gunner on the forward 40. He come over and he grabbed a hold of my arm and pop. He snapped it back in. I think he had done it once before, so oh God, that hurt. And you're covered with gasoline, and I had to bake that day. Yeah, that night, yeah. But it was really something. Joe got the Purple Heart. I put in for it too, but they says it's pending, Yeah, but you see, you have to bleed. If I scratched myself, I would have gotten it, yeah. But all my buddies are dead now. Not all, but 2 officers and 3 of us men are still living out of 72. That's a lot. Actually, yeah, it was quite a thing. All right, then from there, we left. Oh, here's what I want to tell you. Because of this 1,000 airplanes that reported, we would, as soon as we would see them, you had to see them physically. You couldn't pick them up on radar. They would fly low and you wouldn't see them. But you had to pick them when they come up over the horizon. So that's all we were watching all the time, every morning, every evening. All right. Every time we see a plane or something, we report it to our cap right away. All right, they would report it to the Air Force. All right, it wasn't easy for them. See, because if there were any zeros or something, you know yourself. Any Air Force pilot or anything like that knows his advantage is height. If he comes down to shoot that off, he's lost his advantage. And then he's at a disadvantage to any of the Japanese fighters. So it wasn't easy for them to become aces, but it was their job to take them out and all that. And not only did we kill a lot, we did do that, but we saved thousands of lives. Yes.
Out of 1,000, how come not one got through?
Oh, they would get through. See, because they come at different directions. They were coming from Formosa. It was not only Japan, island of Japan, it was Formosa and several smaller islands where the planes were being stored. Yeah. We were, one morning there, it was we had 2 cooks, all right? I was one and the other. The other lad, he was a Polish kid from Pennsylvania, and that son of a gun could make a 20 millimeter dance. He was good. But anyway, he was always on his gun. So it was my job to make sure the men had food. And I went in to make same with guys something, because sometimes we'd be at Chiku for 30, 40 hours sometimes, straight. Because they'd be day and night coming at us. But anyway, yeah, I lost my shoulder. That's why I'm 91. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, as I'm coming up, I opened up the hatch. to come out because the galley's right next to the thing. And I come out with a sandwich and I'm looking and this plane is coming straight at me with his guns going. It was a Val. Actually, it had two men in there, one machine gunner and a pilot. He's coming straight at me and all that. This young lad on a 40 millimeter from Passaic, New Jersey. He opened up the 40 millimeter at it. You could see the bullets, the 40 millimeters going, floom, floom, floom. Right into the engine of that airplane, and that plane almost stopped right where they got hit and fell into the water and all that, and they were both killed. They didn't stay too long on top. The plane sunk almost within a minute because we looked to see if the pilot or the gunner was still alive. We had shot down, that we know of, 5 planes, a total of 5. 5 times they tried to crash into us. And we damaged a tremendous amount of ships. As soon as they would come over the horizon, we would start shooting like mad. You know, get the heck out of here, you know. And we were wearing barrels out, the barrels of the guns. Well, that was, then we went to the Philippine Islands, okay? The Philippine Islands was so many ships in there that you touched any water, you were going to get dysentery because the waters were filthy. Then that is where we found out that they had picked us to be one of 39 ships to invade Japan. MacArthur was all gung-ho on invading Japan. He wanted to invade Japan. That would have been a slaughter, believe me, it really would. But I was amazed that the Sangamon was like a lead ship of 10 other aircraft carriers. And there was 3 of them, so there had to be at least 30 aircraft carriers there at one time. Anything that was bigger than an oil tanker, they made into an aircraft carrier, because that's what was winning the war. That over there. All right, so then we were on our way to invade Japan. All right, so we continued on. Our ship could only do 11 knots if we were going downhill. Well, sometimes you are. Yeah, when you're in a typhoon, when you're up in the air like this, all of a sudden you're down on the bottom, you don't see nobody. But it's really scary. But anyway, we pulled into Tokyo Bay, and there wasn't too much in there. Everything was, the houses were all gone. They were all burnt down. It was just all manholes all over the place. There, bomb craters and all that in there, and whatnot. So we're in there about a week. It was about a week. We got orders to tie up to the battleship, the USS South Dakota. Now, nobody ties up to a battleship. You know, we couldn't figure, what is this? A little ship like that tie up to a battleship? You know, it's unheard of. Well, anyway, we did. We went to the battleship, and they were waiting for us. They were out there. The New Jersey was out there yet. What do you call it? When Missouri had left, and there was quite a few ships. All right, the Saratoga and the Missouri and all that, they were super battleships, they called them. We tied up to the South Dakota, and lo and behold, who comes? Bull Halsey. He comes over and he said, I want to talk to your skippers. Where's your captain? So so the captain's talking to him. We're all standing with our mouths open. Well, anyway, what he was going to do was, Bull Halsey wanted to go home. He wanted to get out of the Navy. Now, he was the head of the 5th Fleet. That's one of the biggest naval fleets in the world. Spruance, Admiral Spruance, was the head of the 3rd Fleet then, and all that. All right, they were going to go to the King George V. But Halsey wanted to show the admiral on the King George V, what we did and all that. So he asked us, he said, would you honor me to take me and my staff and Spruance and his staff to the King George V? I mean, that was a big honor, a little ship like ours. So we agreed to it, wonderful. So the captain says, should we wear blues or whites, because of protocol. Everything, British are pretty strict. He says, you men are dungaree navies. You wear dungarees. And that's all we wore, was a t-shirt and dungaree pants and all that. I mean, with all that brass we had on there, we had to have close to 70, maybe 100 men on our ship to take over. We had to go to the New Jersey, pick up his staff, Spruance's, and then go over. And then wait there all night and then bring them back to their ship. And then Halsey went back home. I got to talk to him. I served him a cup of coffee. He was high on it and all that. But what happened when we got to the South Dakota, they had carpenters waiting for us. I don't know how they knew it, but they made steps. And they would go into our 20 millimeter right here. This 20 millimeter right here was right even with the battleship. Well, you had to walk up 3 steps, then they put a plank across. And all these men had to walk a plank. Yeah, admirals and everything. And that never happened in the whole history of any war. I saw so many dogfights, many dogfights at this thing, because this was their last ballyhoo, or whatever you want to call it, or something. But they were going all out. Tokyo Rose was constantly on our back. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed our scatter, because most of us, only a few were married. And she would tell you all kinds of stories. You're out here fighting and your wives are running around and all that. My girlfriend was. But anyway, yeah, she knows. Yeah, my wife and I don't know if I told you. I did say that we've been married 64? Oh, wow.
Does he have it right? Is it 60?
Yeah, she's my best pal. Yeah. She even planned a trip that we're going to go on, a cruise.
So you're still going on a boat?
Yeah, still going on a boat. Just don't want to get seasick no more, because it's really a thing.
Maybe, I see hands going up.
So-
You want to take a few questions?
Oh, yes. Any questions? Yes.
I think you said you went 150 miles in 3 hours. That boat can go 50 miles an hour?
No, I'm sorry. The boat, when it was seen, was about 150 miles away from us. But by the time they sunk, it was like 100. That's 3 hours away. It's even less. Them battleships can do 40 knots.
How fast could your boat?
Oh, we were real fast. We could go 11. Well, that's on a typhoon downhill, we were slow. We only had 4 engines, that's all. Yeah, 2 pods of 2. Yeah. No, we were not fast. We were made just to go in, beach it, run it, in there, and then start shooting off your guns, and give the men a chance to, what do you call it there, a foothold.
Was it at the front of the boats, that's where it comes down?
No, that did on the LCI. But the LC is nothing but an LCI converted to an LCT, yeah. Landing Craft Tank, Landing Craft Support, LCS. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was the main purpose of that ship, that type of...
That main purpose was like just what it is, landing craft support. We would go with the LCVPs, personnel for VP. We would go with the troops and we go forward. Sometimes you will see on TV, and I think it's Ewo, all these LCSs going in and the troops behind it. And they go in and they keep firing in case they come up out of the hole. They were burying themselves 35 feet, 40 feet deep. And then they came up with their 5-inch guns or something. They had a lot of firepower. Yeah, an awful lot of men died at Okinawa. I did once see a bonsai attack. We were getting ammunition, and they told us to stay and watch this cruiser. They figured that there was a skunk. They call them that. That's a small speedboat with a torpedo in it. And they said protected to stay with us. And this was in Buckner's Bay. What happened there is that they were lobbing shells up into this tunnel. But finally, when they hit the ammunition or whatever was up there, I thought that whole tunnel was going to explode. Yeah. Does that answer your question, or did I miss something? Yeah. Good.
I have a dumb question. You talk about picket lines. Does
Yeah.
that mean your ships were lined up and all as a front line, or what is that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, picket, this is something new. That's why I say it's another record-breaking thing that was never done any other time. You were vulnerable to the whole nation that you're fighting because you're lousing up their suicide plan. It was really working. They crashed into about 500 ships, and they sunk about 50 of them, and all that. Can you imagine how many men died? When we sunk that battleship, the Nagata, the biggest battleship in the world, they left about 3,000, maybe 4,000 men there to drown, because our ships would not stay there and pick up survivors. They did take some, but they couldn't take them all. And I don't think anybody came there and take them off. Bonsai attack, we were protecting this one heavy cruiser that was, and we went close to the shore. This was at the southern end of the island. I saw these men running down the beach. They were running. What the heck is this? We had the glasses and all. Well, anyway, all of a sudden, dirt's flying, everything else here, and smoke and all. It was a bonsai attack. And then they started lobbing shells at us, and we turned around and got out of there. Yeah. Yeah, there was. But we had no speed. Everybody think we were like a PT boat, but no, it's very slow. Yeah, it takes you a long time to go from one place to another. Yeah, go ahead.
At that time, did you guys know that you were really prepared to land on Japan?
Yeah, they told us. They had a meeting with our skipper and all that, and I guess he talked to Farragut. His name was Farragut, our gunnery officer. And I remember he came over, he almost had tears in his eyes, and he says, we're going to pull out within a few days, and we're going towards Japan. We're not going to make it. And we all figured that we were going to die.
Okay, I was in the Air Force there. We thought you were nuts. We
Yeah.
thought you were crazy for going in.
I think I always said this, they took young people, a lot of young people into the service and all that, because we're stupid. Yeah. I don't think I would do what I did. It was hard. I know that you can go out of your mind easy. I had a good friend before I went into service that didn't want to go in, and they made believe he was crazy. He went crazy. Yeah. You can do a lot of things to yourself. Yeah. But all in all, with everything like that and whatnot, Gene and I, we've had a very, very good life. Right? You better say yeah.
We can't thank you enough for the extremely interesting stories, the history, and we thank you for your service. I don't think you were crazy. When we were all young, we thought we were invincible. In fact, let me, I just, for those of you that, we all look like that at one time, right? There were pictures of us in our uniforms as young men and women, although we don't have any, we were young and invincible. And well, thank you. And we will be presenting you with a membership. You can now be a member of the Air Force Association. And I hope you come to join us at our monthly luncheons. And we always try to have interesting speakers, and you definitely hit a high watermark today, and I want to thank you. And I listened to these guys over here, these older gentlemen who were in at the same time. You guys probably crossed paths and didn't know it. But thank you for your service, and thank you for coming today.
I just wanted to tell them that I'm in 3 books. One is called Kamikaze Patrol and the Mighty Midgets. You can go on the Mighty on the internet at any time. Just go to Mighty Midgets. You'll see a picture like that and my story. All right.
I am going to take one of these, and what I will do is, I have a wife too, and if she cooperates, and I know she will, she'll scan this in to a computer, so I can email it out to everybody. Yeah, computer, Gus.
Hard copy?
Yeah. Well, you can have one. He brought 8 copies, so there you go. And anybody else? I mean, the other copies, you may want to take one to school for your kids.
This would be very good for your children, grandchildren, or whatever it is, because it's a true story, and it all can be verified. It all can be verified, and what do you call it there? It's very good reading. I think it's very good reading, because it's all the truth, and it can all be verified. And it is almost impossible to believe that a lot of this stuff could happen. Can you imagine 90 days of looking out there and seeing ships come out that could sink you? You didn't know if you were going to live or die or what. Yeah, it was big.
I got to tell you, I couldn't imagine one day being out on a ship. Actually, I spent a couple of days on the ship, but it was not my cup of tea. So again, thank you. Thank you, everyone.